Awakening the legacy, a return to Islamic heritage. In the heart of every civilization lies a heritage that shapes its values, identity, and direction. For the Muslim world, that heritage is deeply rooted in the divine principles of Islam: justice, mercy, knowledge, unity, and peace. Today, in a time of global turbulence, social unrest, and rapid technological transformation, a powerful awakening is taking place. It's not merely nostalgia for the past, it's a collective call echoing across borders to rediscover the profound wisdom embedded in Islamic civilization and realign ourselves with its timeless guidance. The modern era has brought incredible achievements. From artificial intelligence to global connectivity, humanity has made remarkable progress. Yet, in the midst of this advancement lies a deep spiritual void. Disconnection from purpose, identity crises among youth, ethical confusion, and widespread disunity among Muslims have become urgent challenges. The shift towards Islamic heritage is not a movement backwards, it is a bold leap forward. It's not regression, it's restoration. Reviving the values that once made the Muslim world a beacon of light and knowledge, values that led the world in philosophy, medicine, astronomy, law, governance, and art. From the golden age of Baghdad under the Abbasids to the intellectual brilliance of Al-Andalus in Muslim Spain, the Muslim world was once a hub of innovation rooted in faith. Universities, hospitals, and libraries thrived. Tolerance for other faiths was practiced. Dialogue was welcomed. This legacy isn't just to be admired, it's to be reignited. The knowledge wasn't just theoretical, it was spiritual, holistic, and life-changing. Today, we are witnessing leaders, scholars, and communities converging with a renewed vision, not to replicate the past exactly but to be inspired by it. This is the royal embrace. It is both a symbolic and literal return to our foundational values, led by individuals and institutions who recognize that the true strength of a civilization lies not only in military or economic power, but in its spiritual and ethical foundations. This awakening is not just about grand aesthetics, building majestic mosques, restoring ancient calligraphy, or curating museums of Islamic art, though these are all noble efforts. It's about integrating Islamic ethics back into governance systems, education policies, economic frameworks, media narratives, and even daily interpersonal relations. It's about placing the prophetic model of humility, honesty, and justice at the core of societal development. It's about truly embodying the Qur'an, not only reading it, but living by it. The royal embrace is not reactionary, it is visionary. It is strategic, peaceful, spiritual, and powerful. It is not defined by conflict but by connection. Not by isolation, but by inclusion. It's a forward-thinking movement, one that draws strength from sacred history while building a more just and compassionate future. It fosters a renaissance not just of structures, but of souls. This shift is already visible in education systems that include Islamic values, in legal reforms that balance Sharia with modern governance, in charities and NGOs rooted in prophetic compassion, and in youth movements reconnecting with their faith. Ultimately, the return to Islamic heritage is a revival of purpose. A reminder that Islam is not just a religion of rituals but a complete way of life, one that brings light to the individual and justice to the world. As we awaken this legacy, we don't just remember who we were. We discover who we are meant to be. Part 2, Bridging the Divide, towards Peaceful Muslim Unity. Disunity among Muslims has long been a painful and persistent concern, echoed in Friday sermons, intellectual discourses, and pan-Islamic conferences. With over 50 Muslim-majority countries, thousands of ethnic groups, and a multitude of schools of thought, the diversity within the global Ummah is vast. And while this diversity is beautiful, it has often been exploited, politicized, and used as a wedge to deepen divisions. But today, things are beginning to shift. The winds of unity are beginning to blow again, softly but surely. And they are guided by a sincere return to our shared Islamic heritage and mutual respect. Peaceful Muslim unity doesn't imply uniformity. It doesn't demand the erasure of local customs, cultural uniqueness, or different scholarly interpretations. Rather, it invites us to understand that diversity is not a threat, but a sign of Allah's creative power. True unity is not sameness, but harmony, working together across our differences for common goals. Today, we're witnessing growing collaborations between nations, from joint humanitarian efforts and emergency relief campaigns to cross-border educational initiatives and interfaith peace dialogues. Muslim scholars, thinkers, and educators are rising above sectarian lines, coming together to host conferences, workshops, and digital platforms that promote dialogue over division. Pan-Islamic institutions are gaining momentum. Young Muslim influencers are speaking a language of inclusivity rooted in tradition. New media is amplifying messages of tolerance, mercy, and collective empowerment. This is not coincidental, it is a reflection of spiritual yearning. A reminder that our unity is not optional, it is essential. And it is divine. The real catalyst behind this shift is the spiritual realization that our shared kalima, La ilaha illa Allah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, outweighs every geographical, political, or sectarian division. The Qur'an addresses the believers as one ummah, and the Prophet described us as one body. If one part suffers, the whole body feels the pain. These aren't metaphors, they're mandates. Leadership is critical in making this unity a reality. The royal in this embrace refers to the role of rulers, thought leaders, and institutions who carry the trust, amanah, of guiding their people. When kings, presidents, scholars, and media figures choose cooperation over conflict and faith over fear, the effects ripple throughout their societies. Their voice matters. Their actions matter even more. This embrace is not naive, it acknowledges political differences and real-world tensions. But it proposes a higher framework. When Islamic values of mercy, equity, consultation, and justice are at the forefront of international relations and domestic policies, unity becomes not just a hope, but a direction. The seeds of unity are being planted. Through peace accords rooted in trust. Through joint economic projects that uplift the poor. Through shared platforms that educate the youth. And through prayers said together, side by side. As these seeds grow, the Muslim world will begin to reflect its true beauty, diverse like a mosaic, yet unified in purpose. Standing under one spiritual banner. Facing the same Qibla. Guided by the same Qur'an. Walking in the footsteps of the same Prophet. This is not a dream. It is the dawn of something sacred. A royal embrace of our shared essence, powerful, peaceful, and prophetic. Reclaiming the narrative, Islam as a force of peace and progress. For decades, the global narrative around Islam has often been shaped by external voices, distorted, misrepresented, and weaponized for agendas far removed from truth. Images of conflict, division, and extremism have dominated headlines, while the rich, peaceful legacy of Islam, rooted in compassion, wisdom, and balance, has often been overlooked. But now, a new chapter is unfolding. The royal embrace is about reclaiming that narrative. It's about showing, not just telling, that Islam is a faith of peace, a guide to progress, and a source of healing in a fractured world. This movement isn't confined to speeches or official statements. It's alive in the work of Muslim artists, filmmakers, writers, academics, educators, and public intellectuals who are rising up to tell their own stories, on their own terms. From globally acclaimed Islamic architecture to award-winning films that reflect Muslim experiences with authenticity and dignity, the tide is turning. Media platforms, online communities, and publishing outlets are emerging that reflect the true face of Islam, a religion that champions justice, gender equity, environmental stewardship, and intellectual rigor. The narrative is shifting from reaction to representation. But reclaiming the narrative is more than just public relations. It's a lived commitment to embody the values we preach. When a Muslim country invests in clean energy as a trust from Allah, it's more than policy. When Muslim youth led interfaith dialogues in Europe and North America, it's more than optics. When Islamic charities rebuild homes and hearts in war-torn regions, it's more than aid. These are the acts that breathe life into the spirit of Islam. This narrative shift must also happen within our own hearts and minds. We must stop defining ourselves through the gaze of others. We must stop apologizing for our faith and start celebrating it with pride, integrity, and self-assurance. The royal embrace begins not in the media but in the mirror. It is first and foremost a spiritual return, Muslims embracing their identity with pride and purpose. And in this embrace, we must also confront uncomfortable truths. We cannot ask the world to see us differently if we ignore the challenges within: corruption, injustice, moral decay, ignorance, and extremism. These are not just political or social problems. They are spiritual illnesses that have strayed far from the teachings of the Prophet. A return to Islamic heritage requires introspection, accountability, and reform. It calls for transparent governance, ethical leadership, sincere scholarship, and empowered communities. It calls for mosques to be centers of not just prayer but progress, and for our homes to be gardens of not just culture but character. With unified voices, rooted values, and visionary leadership, Islam can rise again as a light in the world, not through power or propaganda, but through character and conduct. Let us reclaim the narrative by living it. Let our actions speak the truth our hearts carry. Let the royal embrace be our answer to misrepresentation, not with anger, but with excellence. A vision forward, hope, heritage, and the global Muslim future. As we gaze into the future, what vision do we hold for the Muslim Ummah? Is it survival or revival? Is it fear or faith? The royal embrace dares to dream, not just of restoration, but of transformation. It presents a hopeful, ambitious, and deeply spiritual vision, a future where Muslims are at the forefront of innovation, compassion, and global leadership, not as imitators of others but as torchbearers of their own timeless tradition. Imagine a world where Muslim-majority nations lead in ethical technology, artificial intelligence guided by Sharia-based ethics, cities designed with Islamic principles of sustainability and social equity. A world where zakat systems alleviate poverty not just locally but globally. Where educational institutions, from Morocco to Malaysia, not only produce scientists, entrepreneurs, and engineers, but graduates whose minds are sharpened by reason and whose hearts are rooted in mercy. Where knowledge is sought as worship, and wisdom is taught as a divine trust. Imagine Muslim communities globally united, not just in ritual, but in mission. Whether in Jakarta or Johannesburg, youth organize environmental campaigns inspired by Qur'anic responsibility. Families host open-door iftars for neighbors of all faiths. Mosques fund literacy programs. Governments prioritize justice as an act of worship. This is not fantasy. This is the future we build today. The bricks of this future are laid in our classrooms, our living rooms, our boardrooms, and our hearts. It begins with a return, a deep, intentional return to the Quran and Sunnah as more than rituals, but as blueprints for life. By reconnecting with our shared Islamic heritage, we don't regress into the past, we root ourselves to rise higher. And the youth, oh, the youth are the engine. With access to global tools, deep hunger for truth, and passion for justice, they are perfectly positioned to carry this vision forward. But they cannot do it alone. They need mentorship, wisdom, role models, and spaces to question, learn, and grow. The royal embrace must reach them not as a lecture, but as a lifestyle. Scholars must teach with relevance. Leaders must lead with humility. Parents must nurture with prophetic love. And every believer must walk with purpose. Because unity doesn't start at a political summit. It starts in the soul. In the masjid. In the home. In the whispers of a sincere dua made for the Ummah at dawn. The journey toward Islamic heritage and Muslim unity is sacred. It will not be easy, but it will be illuminated. And with each step, we uncover more of who we truly are, a people shaped by mercy, guided by divine light, and bound together by a promise greater than borders. Let this be the era where the Ummah rises with dignity, with clarity, with action, and with an unshakable embrace of all that Islam truly is.